This was our entire class at UQ, so it was fairly small. I think there was just over 40 of us, pretty even split, guys to girls. There was about 18 Canadians in our cohort, so about 13 Canadians in our cohort, so fairly large cohort of Canadians. And I loved all these people. They were such great individuals. It was a real pleasure to be able to study with them and to wear, fun, fancy shirts on our way to barbecues. So about the university in general, I, of course, can only speak to my own experience at UQ. So University of Queensland is based out of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, which is one of the more northern provinces. It is beautiful. I encourage you to, if you were trying to get into one of the other programs, you want to know about the other ones, try and connect with someone who's been there. They always have good information, but I'm of course going to blurb about UQ, and I'll gush really. I loved it there. UQ is such a beautiful campus. It's situated on the river. So the Brisbane River flows right through Brisbane, affectionately called the brown snake because it's constantly full of like dirt and soil from upper Queensland. And the school itself, you can see in the background there, it's one of my favorite buildings. It's this old sandstone building that was built in wartime era, and it's gorgeous. Like there's libraries inside, there's coffee shops scattered around. The entire campus is green and walkable. There's great food options as well. Like I just loved being on campus. As a program as a whole as well, the instruction was incredible. The placements were really, really great. I had very, very few complaints. I would have loved to be here for much longer. Highs of the entire experience. So I would say placement diversity is great. Some people will go to physiotherapy and really be worried about, I want to make sure I study this. I want to make sure I study this. And I know I need to make sure, because I've talked to Caper back in Canada, I know I need to do my neuro hours, my cardiorespiratory hours, my musculoskeletal hours. I want to make sure that I cover all those areas. And they really made sure we did that. There were some people who got, a few more private practice placements. There were people who got more public practice placements. But on the whole, across the entire program, I think everyone got exactly what they needed out of the program. There are, with the DPT programs, there's those options for those specialized placements. Those can still happen in the MPT programs, depending on your placement supervisor. You can try and organize something that's a little bit out of, not necessarily out of scope, but out of the usual. So like that was written there, like a sports practice, there are a lot of sports placements. Emergency room, I got to do a bit of emergency room physiotherapy while I was there, which was really cool. It led to actually a job back here in Canada for a bit. Another one that was really interesting in our field was occupational therapy physio. So you're like, okay, I know that's OT and that's PT. No, so it's actually like physiotherapy that worked at a specific work site addressing workplace injuries. So you had like there was a placement with a meat packing facility, or there was one with a aeronautics engineer company, and you were addressing injuries in the workplace there. And there was really, really cool positions. For lecture content, I felt like when I studied, and then when I came back to Canada, I felt like what I learned was cutting edge. It's really cool to understand that within the physiotherapy world, Australia does a phenomenal job of being like world-class physiotherapy researchers. So you're getting a lot of this information that's still being disseminating from researchers down to clinicians. They say that the actual gap between a research being done and that being translated to practice sometimes can be 15, 20 years. But we had researchers discuss and be like, oh, we studied this, we finished this study last week. Here's something you can apply to your practice. It's really cool. So we had a really great breadth. I didn't feel like we missed anything. I felt like even more niche areas like women's health and pediatrics, actually, we had really, really good content there. Of course, I've touched on the incredible campus. Loved it there. It was always sunny. How do you not like that? The program size, 40 people, was great. We did share our lectures with the undergraduate cohort. So you would have lectures that during the summer blocks would just be our master's cohort. So it would be 40 of us in a classroom with the lecturer. But during the semester 1 and 2, so the spring and fall, if there is a fall block, those were shared with the undergraduates. So then we would have up to like 300 people in a lecture hall. But then our prac classes were still our small, tight-knit group. There was 40 of us in the prac classes. We would get to mix around. So it was a really, really great program size. Getting to and from uni was also amazing. So I got to I lived on the water, so I got to bike along the water to university every day. It was always sunny. If it wasn't sunny, it was a little bit raining, and then I would just take the bus. But it was a really great way to wake up. But also being in Brisbane, you got to take the City Cats, and that's probably one of my favorite things about Brisbane. It's this really, really cool ferry system that is your bus, but it is a high-speed ferry network that goes from all the way one side of the river down on one end of the city, all the way up to UQ on the other side. So you can ride this thing the whole way, and it's just, you're sitting on a boat. You're going to boat ride to start and finish your day, which is pretty cool. And then the other highs was coffee. I don't know how, it's hard to describe this, but the coffee down there is really, really great, and the coffee up here is really, really not that great. It's gotten better.
I can second that.
It's
Coffee
tough.
in Australia is incredible. I don't know what they do, but yeah, it's wonderful.
I almost wish I never knew, because it's like I know what I'm missing. It's tough. But I'll go back there. Maybe one day I'll set up my own coffee shop up here, and I can maybe replicate it. Lows for me, the APP, which was our grading system, at least in Queensland, and I think it was used at that time. Some of this information may be more relevant to me when I took it. I graduated in 2018, so this was from 2016 to 2018. The APP was a weird grading system in terms of how you got graded in your prac system. For example, a grade of 50% was what you expected for a new grad. So people who are like, no, I'm a high achiever, I like to get 100%, I want 4 out of 4. It's like, well, no, we only expect that for people who are performing at a level of like 1 to 2 years out. So it's like, well, I can't do that. I'm a new grad. I'm not even a new grad. I'm still studying. So if the bar is set at 50%, then some people are like, oh, okay, I guess my grades are going to drop here, but the grades don't really matter after that. And the other lows is that, as much as I liked the research component, some really, really phenomenal researchers who are world-renowned aren't really the greatest lecturers. They struggle to get these phenomenal ideas into a very teachable format. They'll teach at like a experienced physiotherapist level, or they'll teach at a researcher level, and really you're like, I know nothing, please teach at the basic level. So the large majority were phenomenal. There was a couple odd researchers here and there that you're like, I think we need to work on your teaching skills, but I'm not the person to tell you that. We also had a really cool, through our university, a run club. So I had made a bunch of running friends. I'd never run before in my life, and I started running, and now I still run because of that. And that actually, in the center there in the sunglasses, that was the current head of physiotherapy. He organized the whole thing, and he ran it with us. It was really cool. And then the short question of would I do it again? 100%. Yeah, like I would absolutely say yes to doing it again. Yes, the cost is tough and moving away is tough, but I feel like my program set me up for such success within my practice. And additionally, I got to adventure and be in Australia for almost 2.5 years. I was close to staying longer. If we hadn't been of the age where we wanted to start a family pretty soon here, we would have stayed longer. I had a couple job offers down there. My wife had a phenomenal job at the hospital, but we ultimately made the call to come home to start a family. But yes, I would do it again.